today I'm going to do a detail strip of the SAR9, within reason of course. Like, I'm not going to take apart the grips and everything. It's kind of common sense, you know, punch out the roll pin, take off your back straps and side panels and everything. But, you know, I'm going to try to keep it within reason. Now, the main tool that you're going to want for this is right here. This will do most of the work for you. You get one of these with the SAR9. This is for the back straps, and it can be used for other things as well. And also, you're going to want a really small punch and a roll pin punch. So I don't know if you can see the tip there, but it's got a little roll pin tip, so it can go in the hole of the roll pin. So you'll want one of these. So anyways, of course you'll want a hammer, and I like to use a wood surface. But anyways, first things first, obviously, is you go ahead and disassemble it, and that's pretty much it. So go ahead and take this apart. Of course, recoil spring out, the barrel. Can't really disassemble the barrel any more than this. So anyways, we have our slide here. Looks kind of familiar, don't it? Yep, kind of like a Glock slide. Well, this pistol was actually modeled after a Glock, with a few minor changes, of course. So first things first is we'll take out the striker. I'm pretty sure everybody here knows how to take apart a Glock striker, or take it out at least. So we'll use our fancy-dancy little tool here, and it's a pretty good multi-purpose tool. So we'll see this little polymer sheath right here. You basically push down on that real hard, and then you really have to force this back end off. That's a little different than a Glock. There's a lot of spring pressure from this piece right here. This piece does nothing but put tension on this back plate right here. That's it. So anyways, there you go. You get your striker. Looks a lot like a Glock striker, huh? Yeah. Okay. There you go. Then you pull out this little spring, and it's got like these wood shavings in here. You see this crap? I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that's kind of weird. Go ahead and leave it in the comments below if you know what that is. But of course, you see a little metal end piece right here. Don't lose this little piece, because it does come out. Just this little piece. So anyways, don't lose it. Next thing is we're going to take apart the extractor, and we're just going to punch out this roll pin, and I'm going to punch it from the top. And for punching out the extractor roll pin, I'm going to use a little bit of a thicker roll pin punch that is about the relative size right here. So this will work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and punch from the top now. Alright, I decided to use a real hammer because this was a tough roll pin. Had to cut it there and switch it out. Very tough roll pin. So there you can see, look at the size of that extractor. That is one meaty extractor body right here. I mean, look at that. And it goes around the little firing pin safety. And of course you got your nice beefy spring right here. And little safety, I'm going to guess, just comes right out with a little encouragement. There you go. There's the little firing pin spring. That definitely needs to wipe off. Okay, so that pretty much does it for the extractor and pretty much the whole slide. That's pretty much it. Go ahead and put this aside and get to work on the frame. Now for the frame, the biggest challenge is taking out this little pin right here, and that's where you got to get your tiny little roll pin punch right here. So we'll go ahead and punch this out, and this is where I'm going to need like 10 hands to help me out with this. Seems to kind of help if you just put more weight on the grip, and since it's flat on the grip, you don't need to deal with awkward angles, and gently punch it out. One of the techniques I have is I actually block a little pin from just falling free by covering it with my middle finger. And there we go. There's a little roll pin. Tiny, tiny. And now you can just basically remove this side of the safety right here. And there you go. Now the key I found to this is you want to be able to push your safety up, so you'll have to go ahead and pull your trigger bar forward until it clicks into position, and then flip it up and kind of jiggle it out of there. And I would try to apply rearward pressure on the whole trigger pack area, or at least all the action back here, and there it should come out. You're going to have to push this way on this whole area and down, because this area can be a real pain, especially in reassembly. So there's that. Now what you got to do is push out this piece right here, this little pin, and that's where this tool comes in handy. Now you'll note with this you have that little cutout right here. This basically goes to a tiny little spring ball bearing right there that you can see on this side, the left side. That is under immense spring tension, but it's encapsulated in this whole locking block section. Now the last part is basically taking apart the disassembly piece right here. So all you really got to do with this is, again, just use your handy dandy little tool and push down on this little disassembly latch all the way, while you're basically prying off the safety notch on one side and then the other. Then this whole piece comes off, and then this should just slide right out. And you don't want this to fly across the room, and just ease it up and flip it upside down. And this is your little piece that's preventing the gun from coming apart. Now that all that's done, you can go ahead and push the trigger a little bit forward and then kind of jimmy it up a little bit. And there you can see this whole thing is going to want to come out. Now it is loose up here, so you'll want to go ahead and apply a good amount of pressure, pinching it and holding everything. As you can see, the trigger pack will want to fall out and do its own thing. So here you have the magazine release down there. I'm not really going to take it apart. It's pretty simple to take apart, but it's just more time than is necessary. So basically an empty polymer frame. Now for this chassis, you can see that you have the locking block, the slide stop, and the trigger connected to this whole mechanism right here. So I would call it the firing controls. So anyways, I'm going to let this thing kind of unfold on itself and gently take the slide stop out. And here's the slide stop. Pretty hefty piece of metal, if you ask me. This thing is just really overbuilt for the task that it has. A very simple task. The next thing I'm going to pull out is just that little spring that provides tension for the slide stop or slide release, whatever you want to call it. And then, of course, everything else just comes right out. This little mechanism comes out, and now we can separate the actual trigger from the locking block. So just that big piece right there. And this is it. This is the locking block, or the unlock block, however you want to see it. So there's that pretty beefy piece. So yep. And this is the trigger and I guess the firing control. So you have the disconnector here, and you could take this apart, but this is kind of, you know, a little wrestling match to take this whole thing out. But you know, it can be fun if you're into that kind of thing, if you want to take out the disconnector and everything, but it's not really compatible with Glock disconnectors, so I'm not really going to take the crucifix out. But you can see it tilts up a little bit, probably a little bit more than a Glock. And this is basically the little chassis that holds everything together. And as you can see, loose on this end, little springy, and has your little frame rails. So yep, that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much all there is to it. You can see it doesn't break down into too many parts. It's pretty simple, but I'll go ahead and leave this as part 1, and in part 2 we'll go ahead and reassemble it. Thanks a lot for watching.